We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. One conversation at a time. We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. We breaking bread, yeah. One conversation at a time.
The Breaking Bread Village.
One conversation at a time.
The Breaking Bread Village.
One conversation at a time.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Breaking Bread Village. I'm so excited to have this conversation today. I want to go ahead and bring on our guest for today. We have Chief Diva. Hey, how are you?
Power.
Welcome.
I'm great.
Awesome. Let's get Chief Alyx on here. Hey, Chief Alyx.
I'm back.
There you
Happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you both for being here today. We're going to get right to this conversation because I'm really excited to talk to you guys because I just want to give everybody a little bit of a backstory how I found your organization. Actually, I was doing some research on Grandmaster Jay from InFact that I brought on here about a week or so ago. I actually found your article, Alyx, and you had an article about him. And I said, oh, I never even heard of Black Hammer before. So do you want to kind of talk about that article a little bit, Alyx? Are you comfortable with that?
Oh, yeah. I wrote that article in collaboration with a member of my team, Comrade Hash. We had been hearing about the NFAC since before, since even before they were in Louisville. Like they had that, quote unquote formation happening in Stone Mountain on the 4th of July, which is when we had a big announcement ourselves. So like we had done quite a bit of research on the NFAC, and the article, the article was focusing primarily on the leadership of the NFAC, Grandmaster Jay, since he is, and even according to in his own words, the only public face of the organization. No other members are publicly have no platforms. The sole person allowed to speak to the media, to have or to speak to any audience about what the NFAC is doing is Grandmaster Jay. So he was naturally our focus. And the article that the two of us had co-written was breaking down that exactly why Grandmaster Jay was not who he says he is. I've watched hours and hours and hours of this man talking on radio shows, on his own show, on his Instagram page, addressing people or his membership, getting ready for these occupations. He calls them formations. They're really they're a militia. They're occupying places. So, and breaking down the gap, this wide gap. The more you look into who this man is, Grandmaster Jay, and the more videos you watch and the more you study revolutionary history of people of color, of colonized people, poor and working class colonized people, there is a huge gap between all that he says and what he actually does in practice, where what he says is the NFAC, the Not Fucking Around Coalition, is for the people in the hood. They're here for the protection of colonized people, of people of color. But what he does is operate hand in glove with the police for every major demonstration that the NFAC has been doing with Stone Mountain and with Louisville. He'll say, he openly admits this, that he was working hand in glove with the LMPD at Louisville, with Major Gregory, with the special ops unit of the LMPD. People like these institutions that are terrorizing the people in the hood, the people who he's supposedly there to protect. And the way he talks about it, that the police were involved in every step of like of organizing these events in the planning phases, in like during the like before the events, during the events, and after the event, being in communication with these people and with the feds, with people who he should know better, because he talks all the time about we can't trust the government, we can't trust these people. But what he does is saying that they gave us they gave us authority to be in Louisville. They were giving us the authority to move. Like if his organization is as militant as he says the NFAC is, they should not need the pigs. They should not need the police, who they are working alongside, who are present, like and who are like doing their job for them of occupying. They're doing the job of occupying the state of Louisville, of showing like their discipline, their military formations. But what they're doing is doing the work of the pigs, of the police.
Okay.
If your leadership, where if your leadership is Major Gregory, is the chief of the LMPD, then what I see is a formation of volunteer police.
Okay, so that's one of the big. So that's what I was trying to understand, because when I read up about you all, when I read up about you all, and when I read up about the Grandmaster Jay and his organization, a lot of the liberating talk and decolonization talk was very similar. So I was trying to understand the differences. So that's one of the big differences that you guys have with that organization. Well, I want you, Chief Diva, to tell me a little bit. Thank you for that, Alex. A little bit about Black Hammer. Who is Black Hammer? Because again, I never heard of you all, and I was a little intrigued, because I said, "Oh, I mean, right now I've been really doing a lot of research on a lot of different groups, because all different type of groups are kind of surfacing more so right now because of the climate of the world right now. So I want to just kind of talk to different people and different organizations to find out who they are. So who is Black Hammer?
So Black Hammer, we are a new organization on the block, but we know we are the baddest organization on the block. We are a worldwide revolutionary organization. We are anti-colonial, anti-capitalist, anti-imperial, anti-white power. Like, that is our line. That's where we stand. We stand with poor and working class colonized, which are people of color all over the world. We stand working together with them, liberating the land and returning it back to the rightful stewards, the rightful people of those lands. That is Black Hammer in a nutshell. We have 4 principles of unity that we stand on, that anything that we do, all the work that we do in our communities and for our different nations, we use these 4 principles of unity. But before that, I should introduce myself. My name is Chief Diva. I am the Chief of Agitation and Propaganda of Black Hammer Organization. So I am in charge of all the media you see out there, all of the information that you get about Black Hammer. Chief Alyx is a part of Black Hammer Times, which is our dynamic news force. They are pumping out anti-colonial articles every single day. Like, every single day, we are staying on top of the issues of our people, which are poor and working class people of color all over the world. We have chapters right here in the United States of America. We have chapters all over the world, including Brazil and Nigeria, the Philippines. We're working on the UK, Canada, China, because we know there are people of color everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, it's the poor and working class people of color that we really want to connect to, that we really are about having those voices being heard, the ones who are being trampled on the most, who are being brutalized the most, the people whose lands have been stolen, whose cultures have been stolen, whose languages have been stolen. Like, those are the people we fight for. And I feel like that is the difference, between the distinct difference between us and INFAC. I don't know who they're fighting for. They say a lot of stuff, but none of it's clear. Like, and But we do have 4 principles of unity. I would love to share those with you.
Sure.
And they are really what ground our work. And like I said, everything that we do here at Black Hammer Organization. But yeah, and they're simple because we have studied a lot of different revolutionary organizations, and a lot of them have like 10 principles. You know, the Black Panthers have like a 10-point program, or like 14 principles. We nailed it down to 4.
Or worse, they don't have any.
Or they have 0, which to me, that is iffy. Like, you should know what people stand for, and what they're fighting for, and who they about. So here we go. So our principles of unity. We believe the colonized proletariat, that means the poor, working class, people of color, should have dictatorship. That means full ownership, like everything, over our lives, our labor, our land, and our resources. And the land is the most important thing, because that is really what is the question that nobody seems to answer, and they just decide to look over. And we understand that that's the root of colonialism, but we'll get to that in our next point. We believe that the colonized proletariat are equal, no matter gender, sexuality, age, body type, location, religion, language, mental and or physical differences, and or bi or multiracial identity. So that's all of us, y'all. All of us and all of our wonderfulness. We are all equal because we're all children of the land, okay? We believe that all the problems, all these problems we face, we're talking about vertical violence or horizontal violence. We're talking about transphobia, homophobia, all those problems that we face, anti-Blackness, all of it. They are the problem that we face are from colonialism and the submissive neo-colonialists that are within our colonized nations. So not only is it colonialism, you know, being snatched from our land, being snatched from our culture, being snatched from our language and our people, being disconnected from that, but also the people who continue to sell us out, who also feed into the system that is snatching from our land and our labor and our resources. Those people are responsible as well for the problems that we are facing. So, and then finally, we believe that the colonized proletariat, so us poor working class people of color, are the only true proletariat. We're the only true working class. And only through our leadership can white power, capitalism, colonialism, imperialism, and all of its symptomatic offspring be smashed. That is what Black Hammer is all about. We understand that, like, a lot of people, like, and we don't, like, our organization is for poor and working class colonized people, and colonized people, people of color only. We don't allow white people in our organization. They are allowed to pay reparations. And people are always like, why do y'all do that? Why do you not let white people in the organization?
I was just going to ask.
Historically, we know that it doesn't work. They tend to shift the conversation away from actual solutions to our material conditions. Like, we're telling them, like, the question for them is always like, well, I need more pay. I need better this. Give me free college. When I'm like, I just don't want to be murdered by the cops. I don't want to be evicted from my home. We have different issues. We're not fighting for the same thing. You're fighting for a bigger slice of the pie. I'm fighting for my humanity. And that is something completely different. And when you ask a poor working class white person, are you willing to give back the land to the rightful people? This is not your land. This is the land of the indigenous people who belong here. The what you call Native Americans. Those people, are you willing to return the land? They are never willing to return the land. And they're never willing to even answer that question about the land. And that's where we draw the line. Now, they can pay reparations because they should. They know what their ancestors do. And then a lot of times they're like, well, I am not doing anything now. This system is still built on my back. This system is still built on the backs of so many poor and working class people worldwide. Not just me here in my own little bubble because I'm comfortable and I'm fine. I got my cell phone and, you know, a roof over my head. I'm talking about all of my people. they're all being brutalized because of this system. And you're just saying, let's just make it better. That's not what we're about. And when you let them in, that's what they want to shift the conversation to. Let's just make it better. Let's just fix it a little. It's like, no, it's illegitimate. It shouldn't even be here to begin with. So that's what Black Camera is about. But
okay.
we do a lot of things.
There's also those smaller reasons too. There's the larger reason, like the larger systemic reason that that colonizers, settlers, white people will betray you. Let's be real. The Democratic Party, Republican Party, doesn't matter who, they will betray you because they have a vested interest in our exploitation. That is theirs. Everything in their lifestyle comes from us. There is no, like Chief Diva said, there is no white working class. There is the white whipping class. Everything they have comes from whipping us. We produce everything that they have. So there's that systemic issue, but there's also the smaller personal issue. We need to learn to organize this on our own. Like, we need to learn these skills. That's a real, like, material thing. Like, there are people coming into this organization who have never been in a meeting before, let alone a revolutionary organization, who have never been a part of a meeting, who have been asked what their opinion is of how things should be organized, who have never used those vital skills.
Right.
And not only that,
white people
or never been in a space where there are no white people, where you don't have to worry about tailoring the conversation, not hurting their feelings, not stepping on something that they think is right or wrong. You can, like, fully be yourself coming into Black Camera as a colonized person. You don't have to worry about, like, code switching,
Well,
we want to talk about decolonization. Oh, I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, you're okay. I do agree that I think that everybody should have a safe space. A lot of times you do sometimes have to, and I think that's across the board, where people feel like they cannot be their true self if someone else is there, which is unfortunate, because to me, hey, if you feel some kind of way, say how you feel, and you should be able to do that, right? But we know that's not always the case. So I do want to talk about decolonization and liberation, because that's like your premise and your foundation of what you stand for. So explain that to me a little bit more on how you guys help people actually, decolonize and liberate people.
Okay, yes. Well, we have so many different ways that we break down decolonizing ourselves and our members and, our people. Like I said, I am the chief of agitation and propaganda. In the Black Camera organization, there are so many different ways that you can get active in your own liberation. And we make that a material thing. So we have different committees that you can join. We have different campaigns that you can be a part of. Some of the things that we do are, we have a political education and culture command. And through that, we do different shows where we, I can't even find my book right now. I'll find it in a minute. But we offer free PDFs every month of different revolutionary books. From right now, the theme is revolutionaries from all around the world. So we went to Nicaragua and we learned about the Sandinistas. Now we're in Haiti and we're learning about Toussaint L'Ouverture. So it's just, there's so many different ways to, yes, we're reading the Black Jacobins.
Okay.
And we do that every Sunday. We have a live on Facebook where we discuss the book. We give the free PDF. We go over it. It's really fun. We have a little segment called Read That Back, where we talk about, like, some of the most interesting parts of the book. And we really try to break it down. We have rallies every Tuesday where we talk about things that are going on in the world. And we break that down from a decolonial standpoint, like an anti-colonial standpoint. And we're more about, like, it's not like decolonization. It's more about, like, anti-colonial. Like, that's what we are about. We are just every aspect of it. We are against it. And we make sure to do that in all the work that we do. We know that this system was built on colonialism. It was built on stealing labor and land from other people. So we make sure to educate our people on that. And we fight against it actively. We are in our communities, passing out PPE. We have passed out PPE all over the world. and we give it to our people for free, because we understand that the system is constantly stealing from them. So we get donations, we get reparations from colonizers who want to be on the right side of history. They pay up, and we get the material to our people.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like the first step that you guys do is try to liberate the mind.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing, is that, you know, it's that sense of how a lot of times people can kind of go along with a certain system, a mindset, and they have to be, you have to relearn some things, you know, because I am a firm believer that everybody can be who they are, right? We don't have to all be cookie cutters of each other. You know, we all have these unique differences, and it's okay to celebrate that. It's okay to say, I have no problem with someone saying they love being white. Like, I have no problem with that. Love who you are, because I'm gonna love who I am.
It's actually the opposite, where we decolonize in practice first. It's the practice, like colonized people, like our theory, our science for thousands of years. That's the way we develop civilization. It's from practice. Once we go out into the streets and we talk with the people, see what they need, and we bring it to them, then we come back into our meetings. We discuss what worked, what didn't work. That's the scientific process of like going out, conducting like our work, coming back, and then doing the breakdown. That's the scientific study, and that's how our theory gets sharpened. That's how colonized people have like developed agriculture and science and architecture and civilization, and that's how we conduct revolution. Where we go out, we talk to people directly, we see what their needs are directly, and we build from that immediately, because we don't have time. Like, it's that foundation of material practice that forms our ideas. Like, we don't know who we are, who our full selves are, because we have been colonized. So if we started from there, from the mental, we would be only working with a part of the picture. We need to actively be anti-colonial to recognize who we can even be under like the full liberation of ourselves. Once we are building that liberation, once we are building that revolution, once we are building unity with people who have been colonized for hundreds of years all over this globe.
And it is happening, like they said, like Chief Alyx said, we are doing that actively, like as we are speaking.
And just to because what you said, I do want to push back against that of like, I mean, to each their own, but like for Black Hammer specific, we do have a problem with white people who said, I have no problem with being white. Like, they should not be here on this continent. They shouldn't be on like the South American continent or the African continent. Like, they have no place being in lands that they have colonized. That idea of whiteness, of like that whole identity, that whole culture, it's like, it's stolen. Like we said, everything that they have is stolen from us. Their food, their science, their literature, they're like everything that they have, it comes from us. They stole it. And to have pride in that colonial relationship is disgusting to us. Like, they should not be prideful in that. Like we said, they can be on the right side of history. They can make amends by paying reparations or volunteering their labor to help overturning that colonial violence, that colonial history. But like, you know, colonized people, we who built civilization, like, we have the legitimacy of like the pride in our culture. But if everything you have in your culture is stolen, then we call BS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I do agree with that.
No, you know what? And I hear what you're saying, and I totally understand what you're saying in regards to if everything that you've become is based on taking something from someone else, not to be prideful on that. And what I'll say again is that for me, I can't force anybody to think how I think. So when I say you can feel how you feel, it's not going to sway me or the other. And that's my position on it, you know, is that I'm still going to be prideful in what I am, and whatever you choose to do, it's totally on you. You know, hey, I'm still going to keep marching forward and on my journey. So, but I totally understand what you're saying. And I want you to kind of talk about something that I looked up on your site and I found it very interesting. Culture is a weapon and political education is a tool to forge that weapon. Can you guys kind of explain that a little bit more for me?
Well, it kind of piggybacks off of what Chief Alyx was just saying. Mm-hmm. You know, our culture is inherently different from theirs. It has been for centuries and centuries about building, about living communally. You know, everybody likes to think like they want to say that some white man invented communism, but no, they stole that from, you know, studying ancient and indigenous people, African people. They tell you that themselves. So we're all about returning that culture back to our people. And like Chief Alyx was saying, not only just saying it with words and reading books and things, but practicing it, going out into our neighborhoods and knowing our people, being amongst our people, not being afraid to get down out there and twerk with the people, you know, like that is where our people are. And a lot of those dances have ties to our cultural dances that have been stolen from us.
Yeah.
And we're definitely about making sure that Black Hammer is not some highfalutin organization that like an average mom couldn't come in and join, you know, or a trans woman or anybody, any colonized person from anywhere in the world couldn't be a part of this and be active in their own liberation. And the educational tools that we offer so many different things. Like I said, we do, we not only, you know, educate our minds, but our bodies. We have free workout classes. We have a free therapist that you can call if you need them at any time. We have self-defense classes. We have just so many different things. And like I said, we're out in our communities practicing these things, being safe, because we understand that coronavirus is wild and it changed the way we moved in our organization. We were all about doing a lot of community outreach. Once the pandemic hit, we changed that up and we started studying about how can we keep our people safe? How can we make sure that we are not spreading coronavirus? We're not spreading fear, but we're actually giving our people some kind of solution to this problem. So
what type of work have you guys done in regards to that with the COVID-19 to help people kind of be a little bit more protected?
Well, we have a campaigns department, and one of our teams on the campaigns department is disaster relief. And it is focused on studying and researching and just gathering information on any type of disaster that our people, colonized people, have faced and will face. And we understand that because we study history and we study science, and we know that there are always going to be like poverty. So we study different kinds of poverty relief. We know that there's always going to be some kind of, in this system, prisons and kind of like state violence. So we make sure to have some kind of, we do research and campaigns around protecting our people from state violence. And then we have our disaster relief, which is protecting our people from different disasters, including like a pandemic. So what we've done is we've just done a lot of studying, and Alex can tell you about all the statistics that we have.
Alex hit it. He's our number one.
To find out what tools that people who have been successful in fighting and leveling out that number of corona patients and outbreaks, like who's been successful actually leveling it out. Ours has just continued to spike. So we know it ain't the United States of America. But yeah.
Yeah, correct. Like all information coming out about COVID-19 is not, there is a reason the United Snakes of America is the number one COVID-19 like on this planet. We is because like the CDC, the media, the people who are at most responsible for informing the people have been doing the least, have been actively misinforming people. Where the countries that have been most successfully battling COVID-19 have been anti-imperialist states, have been China, have been Vietnam, Cuba, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Venezuela, countries like colonized anti-imperialist countries, a lot of them socialist countries, who have a vested interest in pushing out pushing out America from and their foreign influence and their foreign invasion, like have been doing the most to combat COVID-19, of providing PPE for their people, of accurate information of how to properly socially distance, of providing tests for everyone. When Wuhan first started experiencing like the massive outbreak, the government built an entire hospital just for COVID-19 in 9 days. And they kept everyone in their houses under strict social quarantining, and provided everything that they needed: their food, their income, their medication, their transportation, if they needed it. All of it was.
Oh, we lost him. He had a little bit of a bad connection. He'll come back on and we'll bring him back on. But I know we also want to talk about the reopening of schools. I know that you guys had some articles about that too, about what you're doing. Are you privy to that a little bit more? There's Alex.
Oh, yes. So we have a campaign right now. As you know, I don't know if you've seen this, but Trump was just on the news talking about, schools should be opening in the fall, and kids are like almost immune to it. They're like pretty much, I can say pretty much, they're pretty much immune. I can say that. Like, can you say that though? A 9-year-old little girl just died in Florida from coronavirus. So you're going to tell her parents that they're pretty much immune? So Black Hammer Organization is staunchly against sending our children back to these colonial schools, back to these institutions that already are actively murdering their minds with their lies and their curriculum and their education. But we understand that to survive in the system, that's what you have to do. If you're a poor working class mother and you're a single mother, what are you supposed to do with your kids if you have to work 8, 10, 12 hours a day?
Do you guys have any type of homeschooling type of initiatives within your organization? Because I know there are a lot of
we are working on
that are doing that a lot more.
In our Pet Command, we are working on a curriculum for children to get them prepared to be outside of these colonial school systems. And we are just really focused on making sure that we have a lot of moms in the organization that already homeschool. We're going to be creating like tips and tricks to doing homeschool and taking and decolonizing that as well, taking an anti-colonial stance on that. So not sitting your kid in front of a computer for 8 hours a day and things like that. Putting in things like cook a meal with your kid,
Oh, sure, yeah.
Go out into the garden, things like that. Those kind of things that you can easily do that you're already doing with your children. That is a part of learning,
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that we're focusing on. We're making sure to put out a lot of articles and media and memes, just constantly exposing this colonial contradiction, this lie that they keep trying to feed us. And what I love and that I'm seeing is that a lot of moms, especially Black moms, are standing up and they're already fighting back and they're saying, no, I'm not putting my kid in this death machine. I'm not signing these papers and these waivers that you're trying to make a sign that's saying if our kid dies, we won't sue you. Like, it's ridiculous. We just had our first news show today with Chief Alyx, Hard Targets. Check it out every Thursday right before this. We were talking about that today. We had a teacher on there who was saying, there has to be some kind of solution that we can't like put our kids in these schools. She's a teacher. It's like they're not offering us anything. They're basically saying just come, and if you die, you might die.
And that's a lot. Yes, that's true. And there are a lot of communities that are going back to homeschooling. And I have a really good friend of mine that actually has a school that she started in Cincinnati, and it's all Global Faith Academy. I will put a little plug out there for her. And yes, but they do all that. They do the cooking. They go out and they plant, they garden. She said they spend maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours in front of a computer the rest of the day is a lot of interaction with real life. I mean, they learn so much. And like I said, it's Global Faith Academy, and she does a really good job, just kind to really. And we have Black World Schoolers too. Another friend of mine, they do a self-learning. It's a lot more self-learning as opposed to the structural, traditional way of sitting still for 8 hours.
Oh, I love that. That's really, yes. And we're focused on that as well.
Yeah.
We look at all that. That's part of our principles of unity, that we have to understand that our children are people too, and they learn differently. And these school systems don't allow for that. They try to put our babies in boxes and criminalize our children very early on. And we want to get our children out of that. And one of our biggest initiatives, Hammer City, kind of is our response to both coronavirus and these colonial school systems that are trying to killing our children. So
yeah, I want you to talk about Hammer City. I was really, like I said, I was doing a little research. I'm like, oh, and I saw a part of on the website about Hammer City, and I was really intrigued by that because it reminds me of, when you watch the movie like Black Panther, like Wakanda, and I'm like, oh my goodness, they're creating a city. So, and again, there's a lot of groups right now that are trying to do this, where they're saying they want to carve out parts of land or, own communities, and we all remember, like Black Wall Street, different times where this has been attempted and has been destroyed. So tell me about Hammer City. Tell me what Hammer City is.
So Hammer City is one of many, first of all. It's not just an end all be all. We're not like going there to close ourselves up and be like, oh, this is it. We have our city. Everything's good now. Everybody else can just be done. Like, no, that's not what Hammer City is about. Hammer City is about creating a space for our people to really practice anti-colonial liberation. It is a micronation.
Explain that a little bit more for me.
It is a micronation, and the difference between us and what some other people are doing is like we really want to answer and tackle the land question. Who does the land belong to? Who are the people that are indigenous to this land or to any land all over the world? Because we plan to have Hammer Cities all over the world.
Okay.
Build them up until everybody's ready to see that there's a different way to do this.
And that's the ultimate difference between decolonization and anti-colonialism, is not just building up another Black Wall Street, another Tulsa, Oklahoma, or Rosewood, Florida. Is we don't just want to create a space that is dual contending power, where we have our own economic systems and our own systems of education and healthcare, but we need to be able to oppose the colonial system that thrives on invading our spaces and stealing from our land. That's why Rosewood and Tulsa, Oklahoma had mass lynchings because that instinct of the settler to en masse invade our space and destroy everything that we build so that we cannot pull ourselves out of the system. It's ingrained into colonialism. So we can't just decolonize. We need to be able to defend ourselves from colonialism. So like the culture
how do you do that?
Like our culture of self-defense, like Chief Diva said, with our therapist and our workout routines and our self-defense classes, and with all of these things are around making sure that's what, and our policy of no white people in Hammer City, all of these things are to keep the colonizer out, to keep the physical presence of the colonizer out, and to keep the mental presence of the colonizer out. Being able, that's why Venezuela has been such a beacon of what it looks like to have autonomy for your people, where they are battling COVID-19 far and away better than all of their neighbors in Colombia, than Brazil, than Paraguay. All of its neighbors are Venezuelans in Colombia are trying to come back into Venezuela because they're handling that pandemic so well, because they put the they put the well-being of the colonized working class first.
Okay.
The colonized working class have a dictatorship over their land, and they are able to defend it. The Bolivarian shield. Everyone has like military training to be able to, like, when the U.S. was coming in to like try and invade Venezuela throughout 2019 and in 2020, like Venezuelan farmers were ready to tackle coup plotters and mercenaries. They could take down American mercenaries. Farmers, just everyday farmers had the skills to take out mercenaries. And you can see this, like the same thing in Cuba. Like Cuba has been able to defend themselves from hundreds of bombings and assassination attempts and invasions, because everyone has that culture of defense. They are disciplined and they are invested in protecting their land by any means necessary. It's not just that they are about the well-being of each other, but that they are comrades, that they are willing to, like, if one of them falls down, then the next person can pick up their weapon and defend the homeland.
Okay. Now paint a picture of what Hammer City would look like, because I looked at pictures and it was really, I mean, fascinating for me. I'm a very curious person by nature. So explain to me what kind of like paint a picture. And I know that, there's still some secrecy to this which is understandable as you're building and you're. Yes. No, so I understand that.
And we study history. We know how they move. They ain't slick. We know how they move. But really, so with Hammer City, we understand that being on this land, being on what the indigenous people call Turtle Island, they are the ones who are in control of what it will actually look like. There has been so many different options, but some of the things that we have been looking at, we want to make sure that it is sustainable and self-sustainable, and it's one with the earth and things like that, and just more about like keeping it modern, but still about how our people used to live and do things that was really more in harmony with the earth and the environment and things like that. We have so many different teams and so many different campaigns. It's really exciting to see, because we plan on having growing our own food, collecting our own water. We plan on having our own schools and I was saying, defending ourselves and having defense classes. So
you should see some of these homes that our design team has come up with. On one of our public rallies on Tuesday a couple of weeks ago, we went over the possibilities of what the construction could look like. Because again, colonized people having these ancient sciences and these tried and tested sciences of architecture, becoming like trendy nowadays, where white people are like, oh, we'll take it and call it our own idea. Where you can build houses out of the actual earth, out of producing stuff from the land, and it's and they're real cute. And they're real safe. They're sturdy. They can withstand all of these things, and they can be insulated. If you keep them in the daytime, they can be, that insulation stays in overnight when it gets cold. And that's the indigenous sciences that there's a reason that these are still being built,
which is true, and that's a proven fact. Yeah. Well, I think that's really exciting. I think it's really cool. I'm really excited to hear more about it as it develops, or when it develops, because I know that it's a secrecy, which I totally understand. But I think it's really cool. I think that having your own space is a beautiful thing, and I always encourage people to live off the land and go back to the roots of things, because we've gotten so far away from that. And I believe that naturally we've always been very connected to nature. We've always naturally been connected to the land, and we've gotten away from that. So I had my garden this year, and I've been getting my cucumbers and my tomatoes and my herbs, and it's been so. I mean, it's just so fulfilling. I mean, just to see food come out of the ground, and you could just break it open right there if you wanted to, and survive off of that, cucumber or tomato. It's just a beautiful thing. So I really applaud that, and I think it's really cool. So, what do you guys have like that that's upcoming? Anything that's coming up that people should know about?
Every Tuesday, we do make announcements on Facebook Live. Please follow us at Black Hammer Organization on Facebook. We do make announcements about Hammer City. It is a city that's for people of color only. We will have no rent. You will not have to pay rent to live there. There will be no.
Oh wow! Oh, okay. So explain. Okay, no, wait a minute. Stop. Now I need to know how.
We got you now.
Because,
we got you now.
My rent is really high. So explain to me.
Color only.
So how would that work? And I'm talking in regards of economically. How would that work? For people not to pay. What's the plan for that?
So, do you want to tackle that, Alex? I'm gonna say I'm not.
Yeah.
Economic stuff. I mean, I could tell you.
So one thing that white power has done to sort of obscure all of these traditions and practices that colonized people have used to sustain civilization for so long is this idea of paper currency of like the dollar. And white power wants to say that, capitalism has been around forever. Like, it's a natural instinct to to be self-serving, to have money, and free trade. These things are good, and they'll say all of these things that they're natural, that they've been around forever.
We used to barter. We bartered. We
right.
Go ahead. Keep
right.
going.
Like commerce and economic systems. We had really complex systems of economics on the African continent, on Turtle Island, webs of trade, bartering, of production, manufacturing, agriculture that spanned the entire continent of where we lived, and that united people. And all of that was based in labor. Like, they had the self-determination to develop skills, to develop trades, goods, based off of the land. Like, people in certain parts of Africa who were very good at making clothes, kente cloth is the big example, is because they produced everything that they needed from the land, and from that said, this makes really good cloth, and everyone based on what they could produce from the land, no one else could make cloth like people from this certain section, because they were so connected with the land, and that developed their labor. It goes with other parts of the African continent where they produced iron, certain iron producing skills came from that relationship to the land. And it's the same with Hammer City. If you can put in the labor, then you have dictatorship over the fruits of what you produce. No one comes to take that from you. And if you don't have the skills, we will teach you the skills. That's because the working class, the colonized working class, people of color, we don't just produce goods and materials, the clothes, the food, the houses. We produce each other. We teach people. That also goes very deep. Just because you can't do something now doesn't mean that you can't learn. And that when you do something, you will be able to learn to build your own house, like these earth bag houses, or any other type of design that colonized people have developed. If we can teach you how to do that, and once you build it, it's yours.
It's yours.
That's what I'm hearing is that everybody brings something to the table, so the table is always full. It's that idea of the village. It's the village mentality that we've always had, where everybody just kind of brings something. And I know because I deal with a lot of women who do birth work. And it's people will breastfeed somebody else's baby if she's sick.
Exactly.
And it's this idea that it's a communal thing. We're all in it together. Shoot, I'm ready to stop paying my rent. So tell me when.
Yes, come join us. Come join us. You'll be a beautiful addition to our village. Hey.
I am, anybody that knows me knows I am a huge believer in the village. I'm a huge believer in, community.
And that's why we're doing this, because we know that it is in our people already. They just haven't had the opportunity to practice it. And that's what Hammer City is. It is our opportunity to really do it. To not just talk about it and dream about it. We're really going to get in there and do it.
I think that's beautiful. I think it's beautiful to live off the land. I think it's beautiful to, and just when you talk about health-wise too. I mean, mentally,
exactly.
Health-wise, the stress that people have.
We're not going to have to worry about like cops. We're going to have procedures to help protect yourself and your family from coronavirus.
I was going to ask you about self-policing, because that's another thing that has been a big thing right now, right? When people talk about like defund police and reform police, it's this idea of, people say, well, how do you self-police? How do people self-govern? So how do you plan to do that at, Hammer City?
It's about a culture of defense, like Chief Alyx said. But go ahead, Alex, break it down.
I will say, the pigs don't solve crime. Snitches do.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Where it's the culture of defense. That's what it comes down to, is the police, as we have been introduced to them, are an occupying force where they don't protect people, they protect property. Or they turn people into property, where they shepherd us into the prison system to turn us into property, where we do slave labor for all these different companies like Victoria's Secret, Starbucks, Whole Foods, doing free labor for all these, turning us into chattel slaves through the prison system. Where if you develop a culture of defense, a culture of security, like I mentioned with Venezuela and the Bolivarian Shield, or the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, everyone is responsible for the security of everyone else, because they develop the skills to protect each other. When someone falls down, your neighbor picks up the gun and protects your house, because the well-being of everyone determines the well-being of the individual.
Which is a mindset. Yeah.
So that comes down to physical fitness, training, defense, but also of also undoing, and once we develop that discipline and that practice, it's also, and then it becomes internal. We recognize that these colonial ideas like privacy, what happens in the family stays in the family. That's where a lot of domestic abuse and violence.
Well, and sexual abuse with children. I mean, there's so much stuff where people,
where you start to develop those communal bonds and that openness with the community, so that automatically.
I'm sorry, that's how it used to be. I remember walking down the street and anybody could, anybody's mama could, discipline me or, go in different places, and if I acted up, people were allowed to correct me, and that was a part of that community where you knew wherever you went, you had to act right, or you would, but that's that mindset that we've gotten away from. So
knowing your neighbor is a security thing. Being able to produce food is a security thing, where someone's not going to go and steal from anyone else if they have food on their table and they know where their next meal is going to come from. And if they have their housing, it's preventative.
I'm sorry. I'm interrupting you, but I really am excited that you said that, because that is so true, because I have so many people who don't understand trauma. And I say this all the time. They don't understand trauma, and they don't understand when you are not given a certain, you don't have certain resources, you resort to different things. And people always, people ask, well, why would they steal? Why would they do this? Have you ever been hungry? Have you ever child hungry, you know, and that's not advocating for someone to do that, but it's a reality that if I don't have and I literally don't know where it's coming from, I'm going to have to find this is a survival. It's just a natural survival instinct. So again, if you're in a position where food is in abundance or it's there for you, you don't have that extra stress.
And that's the biggest difference between Black Hammer and the Not Fucking Around Coalition is the Grandmaster Jay will say that security is, we get information and we have our guns, and if anyone comes within a block of us, we shoot to kill. And, that has its place. But the only person he respects is a soldier who has been trained by the U.S. military. Whereas he has no respect for people who have actually been raised in the hood. Who is more of a soldier than anyone coming out of the military, who battles every day when they get out of bed. They are a soldier against colonialism. They are a soldier against poverty. They are a soldier against hunger. And they are trying to solve that contradiction on an independent level. They might not have developed the discipline, but they are a soldier against the forces that have invaded this land, that have stolen them and brought them to this land. They are a soldier against those forces. And if you discipline them to work on a collective level, to work for their sibling, their neighbor, their family, then they are willing to defend that community no matter what. And that is what security looks like. That is what the revolution looks like. Because what is Grandmaster Jay going to do when the food supply chain breaks down, or when the hospitals are overrun because of COVID-19, when he has no response for the community, when the people in the hood are looking to him because he wants to call himself a leader and he does not have an answer for them? Security is that culture of unity and self-determination. That is what security looks like.
Yeah, and not promoted through fear, but through community and through love, and through collectiveness. So yeah, well, okay.
I have one other thing to say about Hammer City.
No, please, please
help us make this a reality for our people. We're taking donations. Build Hammer City, very simple. Build Hammer City, and that is on Cash App, that is on Venmo, and it's on GoFundMe. Build Hammer City. We take all donations. It doesn't matter what the price is. Our people, when we get out into the streets and we talk about this to our people, they are very generous. They give us the money. We are currently at $20,000, and we've only started promoting this for about a month. We have been researching this for months and months now.
Wow.
Everything together so we can make sure that we are doing everything to keep our people safe and giving them a real solution to the contradictions and the problems that exist right now. Our people are facing eviction. They are facing hunger. They are being faced with being turned away from hospitals. That's what they are facing. Like Alyx is saying, it's not just about getting out on these streets, running around in these protests, waving a gun around. That's not the only thing. Our people are hungry. Our people are tired. They have nowhere to go. And there needs to be solutions to that. And Hammer City is the solution. So help us build Hammer City. Keep our babies out these schools. Keep our people off these streets.
Well, I'm really curious to see when Hammer City starts to develop more. That's really interesting to me. So I'm really curious to see that.
Just donate. Help us out. Donate, y'all.
And join BlackHammer.org, sign-up.
Yes.
If you are a colonized person, we want you to join us. We want your skills. We want your voice in the democratic process. We need your hands.
So how do you vet people to come into the organization? Because we understand through history that you have to be you have to just make sure who people are and say they are. How do you guys vet people? What's your vetting process? Or
we do have a membership process. We have a whole membership department that goes through and vets people. I won't say exactly how they do it, but they do it. But we have been very successful so far, and typically, people vet themselves on out. Like,
yeah,
we be knowing the work reveals all. So we be knowing.
And that's not an anarchistic like statement. It's like it's just how contradictions work. If there's a tension between if you are coming into this organization to cleanse yourself of colonial mindsets,
sure,
and you are actually about building revolution, then like the work will show in the results. If you unite with that, then you unite with the work. But if you are coming into this organization with these with these colonial secrets and trying to tear the work down, that like the results will out you. Like there is no hiding. Like if whether or not you are like secretly a Fed, or if you are just like very internalized, if you are in the sunken place, then the work will out you. You cannot come into the revolution and hide these things. It overturns all secrets. It overturns all these contradictions. All of these tensions will reveal themselves. So that's our vetting process. We are a mass organization where anyone can join, but like that, as Chief Diva said, like there are people who recognize that that either they came in with hostile intentions, and then we have systems in place to kick them right the heck out. we're not stupid.
Yeah.
Or people who come in and they do they do the work of the Feds, but they don't realize it. They don't realize they're moving like the colonial state. They don't realize they're moving like the police. They don't realize they're moving like infiltrators and saboteurs. But that's how they're like, where they are moving in dangerous ways, or in ways that like put other people in danger, or they are dropping all this work and leaving it on other people. Like the work outs them, and then we say, hey, like, it's like you might not be a Fed, but you act a lot like
or you should get a check.
Like,
a check.
So we're not
down our liberation.
Okay, and I have one last question that I just thought about, and then I'm going to let you guys go. So, like with Hammer City, because I think about, just as a person that deals with birth work and different medical things, how will you cover that part of it, the medical part, in regards to people being sick or needing type of medical attention?
Well, we, like Chief Alyx said, we are a mass organization, so we actually have people who are doctors in our organization, and we are actively recruiting doctors and actively recruiting nurses and actively recruiting medical professionals. We have people who are already pursuing those dreams in this colonial system, and they understand that they really need to use those skills for the people. So they're in here and they're doing the work, and we know that we're researching everything. We have campaign departments, and we need birth workers. Yes, come on in, birth worker. Okay, we have a place for you in the revolution, because we definitely understand the colonial contradictions around birth work. So many of our, especially Black women, die in this colonial system, this medical system, especially during childhood.
And that's a fact. This is, that's the thing. Sometimes when I talk to people, I try to be as straight to the point as possible. I mean, this is not theory, or this is not racist statements, or this is facts. This is facts that things that's happening within the medical field, and it's being even.
I know it because it happened to me. Like it's not something that's like made up. Like with my second child, they basically just ignored me. Like I was an active labor, and I'm telling them this. I'm an active labor, and they were like, "Ma'am, you need to calm down. You're lying, basically." And I'm like, I know my body. Like, get out of here.
Yeah, this is pure fact. Yeah, it's pure fact, and it's a lot of studies behind it. It's a lot of like you said, personal testimonials of people who have gone through it. I've seen it. It's a lot of things that's going on in the medical field, so that's a fact. Well, and a lot of this stuff is is a fact. That's yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys. so much for coming on. This has been a great conversation. I'm so glad, Chief Diva, you were able to join us and join in because
no problem. I saw some of your content and I was like, oh my God, yes, I would love to be a part of this.
Yeah,
and
no, I appreciate it.
And you are one of our people. We want you to join as well. Join us in this revolutionary fight. I know you say you don't want to be on no side, but be on the side of the people.
It's not. I said on this
side. We need you on our side. We're gonna fight for you. That's what I'm gonna say.
On this platform,
yes,
on this platform,
the people who are on the other side, they know what they need to do. Pay them reparations.
You know, and like I said, you know, on this platform, I do try to give a space to all different perspectives. So yes, here I do try to allow everyone to have a space to explain who they are, what they stand for. So, you know, but yeah, I appreciate you guys a lot for coming on. It's been great. You know, and telling us a little bit about Black Hammer. And, you know, if people do want to give, they should support, you know, again, we have a couple people that's putting it up here for us. Awesome. If people can support, yes. And, you know, I honestly, I will tell you, I am very curious to see Hammer City. I think that's really cool. I think it's
wait. We're all just so excited. All of us are just working so hard. The sooner we can get the funds raised, the sooner we can be on liberated land and let our babies walk around and pick fruit from trees that they fucking planted in the ground. Okay.
Oh, no, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I really believe that with this whole COVID thing that took place, it really sparked that in a lot of people to realize the necessity in being able to grow your own food, because, you know, people are going to the grocery stores and they were out of this, they were out of that. And I think people realize, like, you know, wow, this stuff is really hitting the fan. And it's you know, kind of sunk in a little bit for some people because, you know, me and a lot of my friends, we've talked about this for years, that you should be self-sufficient. You should be able to, you know, people need to know how to sew. It's a lot of different things that you should be able to do. And I think that this pandemic really hit it on home for some people, that it really is imperative to be able to be self-sufficient, because, you know, people can push a button and you can have nothing. And so yeah, I mean, you know, as we're going through like this cashless society and different things like that, there's a lot of stuff happening that buttons can be pushed and you can't get grain or, you know, flour. So anyway, that's a whole nother subject. But I appreciate you guys both for coming on and sharing about Black Hammer and about Hammer City and just some of your different endeavors. And thank you guys for giving out different PPEs to the communities. A lot of communities that I know a lot of indigenous communities were suffering because they didn't have access to. I know I spoke to someone.
We actually reached out to many people in the Navajo Nation and provided PPE and food and herbs and things like that to some elderly members of the Navajo Nation. It was really, I did that personally. It was like life-changing for me. Like, I got to speak to one of the elders and they were speaking in their indigenous language and I didn't know what they were saying, but it made me cry.
You can feel it. You can feel it.
Powerful.
You can feel it. You can feel it.
To help our people. Those are our people, you know? So, yeah, we're doing that. So we're also in Africa and Nigeria, and Nigeria is being hit really hard right now.
Yeah.
Some content. They're using anything and everything. So you can actually donate to BH Disaster Relief, or is it BH International?
BH, so $BH International.
Yes,
International to help our comrades in Nigeria.
To Africa, to donate directly to Brazil, to the Philippines, to our brothers, sisters, and siblings all over the world who have nothing.
Okay.
Donate to that as well. We're trying to help our people everywhere, and we plan to have Hammer City in those places as well, so our people can really see what liberated land looks like.
Okay. And if people want to find out more about you all, they can go to blackhammer.org, correct?
Mm-hmm. Check us out, yes, and sign up, y'all. The revolution is everybody. There's a place for all colonized people. white people just pay reparations, but everybody else come join us.
Okay.
Thank
you guys so much
on here. I love your show, and I will be watching more of it. You'll be putting in comments now.
Well, we're going to have to talk a little bit more about your birth story. I'm really curious to hear more about that. So we'll connect a little bit more to talk about that, because I want to bring more awareness to that as well, because a lot of people think it's just a figment of our imagination.
Well, I have a show. Maybe you come on my show.
I'll do that.
We can talk about birthday.
I'll do that too. Yes.
Let's come on my show.
That's what it's
we'll have cocktails and we'll talk about it, because it was.
That's what the village is all about. Both of us can have a seat at the table. Yeah. So that's a beautiful thing. Well, you guys have a great evening. Love to you guys both, and you guys keep doing what you're doing. And I'm curious to hear more about Hammer City and some other things that you guys are doing out in the community. So you guys have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Land back.
Take care. Bye-bye. Awesome. Well, that is another great conversation that we had with the people from Black Hammer. They were able to tell a little bit more about their organization, answer some questions that I had, and just some of the work that they're doing out there. And again, want to thank all of them for the work they're doing in regards to giving out PPEs during this time to different communities that were kind of left out of that distribution and don't have the resources to get to it. So again, thank you so much to them for doing that, to be able to help the communities. That's a beautiful thing. And you guys, again, thank you so much for your time here with me. And I just wish you guys a great evening.